Hello, this lesson is for Algebra 1, Chapter 2, Lesson 10. It is titled Applications of Percents. The objective for this lesson is to use common applications of percents and also to estimate with percents. The vocabulary for this lesson is commission, interest, sales tax, principal, and tip. So who uses this? Well, sales representatives use percents to calculate their total pay, such as this realtor here who has just sold this lovely house to this fine couple here. Commission is part of our vocabulary. So a commission is money that is paid to a person or a company for making a sale. Usually the commission is a percent of the sale amount. So for instance, the house sells for a certain percentage, and then they count, or house sells for a certain price, and then a certain percentage has been agreed upon to pay the realtor for having done the job of showing the house and finding a purchaser for it. So let's go ahead and look at a business application of using percents. Here we see, well, first let's go ahead and look at our caution over here first. You must convert a percent to a decimal or a fraction before doing any calculations with it. So where we have this percent sign on the end of this 1.5 here, we're going to need to convert that to a decimal or a fraction in order to work with it. Most commonly, it's changed over to a decimal number. So Miss Barnes earns a base salary of $42,000. Now, base salary means she gets that no matter what. If she sells a house or she doesn't, I guess this is selling houses. Yes, it doesn't say. I'm just making the assumption that it's a house. But let's just say she's a realtor. So Miss Barnes, whether she sells 10 houses, 100 houses, or no houses, she's still going to get paid $42,000. Now, chances are if she sells no houses, 0 houses, she's probably not going to keep her job too long. But at any rate, no matter how many houses she sells, she earns $42,000. Along with that, she earns a 1.5 commission on the sales. Her total sales 1 year were $700,000. Find her total pay for the year. Now, the fact that it's $700,000, it's a good chance that she is not a realtor. Most realtors would probably have more than $700,000 in sales in a given year. And that's like 2, maybe 3 houses. So, total pay, let's write a formula for it. Total pay is going to be equal to her base salary plus her commission. So, we'll go ahead and realize, okay, that's base salary plus the percent of total sales. So, we're just replacing commission with the percent of total sales because that's where her commission comes from. So, let's plug in the numbers that we know. We know the base salary is $42,000, so we'll plug that in for base salary. It's highlighted in red. And then in the blue text here, we have total, or percent of total sales. Well, that's going to be 1.5% of the $700,000 that she sold that year. Let's go ahead and convert the 1.5% over to a decimal. We've done that in other lessons. We know that we're going to move this decimal over 2 places to the left. Remember that whenever we're going from a decimal to a percent, we move from the left going to the right. And if we're converting a percent to a decimal, then we're going to move that decimal to the left. So going from percent to decimal, we're going to go ahead and move that decimal to the left 2 places. 1, 2. The decimal would be here. We put in a place holding 0. And so you can now see that 1.5% is a decimal is written as 0.015. Go ahead and plug that into a calculator, I suppose. Do the calculations, and we'll find that 0.015 times 700,000 is 10,500. Let's add that to the base salary. That's pretty easy mental math to do, right? 42,000, 52,000. Throw that 500 on the end. We end up with 52,500. Here, check it out. A telemarketer earns $350 a week plus a 12% commission on sales. Find her total pay for the week in which her sales are $940. So in this case, we would have to, let's go with income. We'll call it I for income, I suppose. Her income is equal to her, we'll call this her base plus her commission, right? So let's plug in our values here. The base is $350, and then plus her commission. Commission is $940. That's what she sold, right? And we're going to multiply that times 12%. Let's move that decimal over 2 places, going from a percentage to a decimal. We're moving from the right to the left, so we'll move it to the left, and that's going to be 0.12. And now income would be equal to 350 plus, and I'm going to go ahead and do this one on my calculator. Let me see, 940. We're going to multiply that times 0.12, and that's going to be $112.80. And then total income would be the sum of 350 plus the 112.80. So I'm going to go ahead and add 350 to what I already have in my calculator for a total of $462.80. That is money, right? So $462.80 for the week. Now let's talk about interest. Interest is the amount of money that's charged for borrowing money. So if you go to the bank and borrow money, they're going to charge you interest for borrowing it. It's like a fee to borrow money. Or the amount of money earned when saving or investing money. So if you put money into the bank, they pay you interest back for holding your money. Basically, they're taking your money and loaning it to other people and charging interest for that. Now, bear in mind that the bank is going to charge more money to loan somebody, or more interest. The interest is higher for money that they loan, meaning they charge somebody more to borrow their money than they pay you to borrow your money. So that's how banks make money. Principal is the amount borrowed or invested. So the amount that either you borrowed or the amount that you invested into the bank, or maybe a retirement. That's known as the principal. It's kind of like the starting amount, right? And simple interest is paid only on the principal. So this is the formula for simple interest. There is another type of interest called compound interest, but we're only going to be dealing with simple interest. So simple interest paid annually, this is the formula for it. We're going to use an I for interest, P for principal, R for rate, which is pretty much always going to be a percentage that will convert to a decimal. And then T is for time, and that is time in years. If we move along here, example 2, we look at a finance application. Let's look at our helpful hint first. When you are using the formula interest equals principal times rate times time, I equals PRT, to find simple interest paid annually, T represents time in years. So therefore, 1 month is 1/12 of a year. In example 2b, you'll see where we're going to set time as equal to 3/12 because it talks about 3 months here. So before we do B, let's look up at A. Find the simple interest paid annually. Annually means a year. For 2 years on a $900 loan at 16% interest per year. So we're going to take that formula, I equals PRT, interest equals principal, times rate times time. We're going to substitute our known values. Interest is what we're wanting to find out because that's what they're asking. Find the simple interest. So we're trying to solve for the interest. So let's plug in the principal, which is 900. Again, this is the starting amount. This is how much this individual borrowed from the bank. So they borrowed $900. Their interest rate is 16%. So we're going to go ahead and take that decimal and move it over 2 places. And we're going to get 0.16. And then the number of years is 2. So we plug in a 2 there. Now, if you plug all this into a calculator, 900 times 0.16 times 2, you'll get 288. So the amount of interest is $288. That means after 2 years, if they hadn't paid anything on this loan, because over time they would be paying down the principal. But assuming that they don't pay anything on it, at the end of 2 years, the money that they would owe the bank would be the principal, what they borrowed, plus the 288 interest, which would be what, $1,188, right? this would be the amount that they owe back. That would be principal plus the interest. Here's the principal, here's the interest, and we would have to add them together. So whenever you're looking at a question, make sure that you read the question carefully and find out what are they asking for. Are they asking for the interest? Or some questions will ask, what do they owe at the end of a certain amount of time? Then you'll have to realize, oh, you need the principal plus the interest. You still have to find the interest and then add it back to the principal. Okay, item number B. After 3 months, the simple interest earned annually on an investment of $7,000 was $63. Find the interest rate. So here in this formula, we're going to be plugging in for interest. We do have the interest, so that's going to be on the left side of the equation. And then we're going to have principal, rate, and time on the right. And rate is what we're trying to solve for whenever they ask for what is the interest rate. So R is what we're going to solve for. So let's take this formula of interest equals principal times rate times time and plug in what we know. So somebody invests $7,000, and that is the principal, the amount of money that they started with. This time, it's not somebody borrowing money from the bank and getting paid, having to pay interest. Now they've invested $7,000 someplace, and someone else is paying them for basically borrowing their money. So we know that interest is 63, so we put it in the place of the I in the formula. We come to the principal. We know that's 7,000, so we'll plug that in. The rate is what we don't know, so we'll just leave that represented with the variable R. And then for time, just like we saw in our helpful hint over here, time is going to be 3/12 because this is annual interest. There are 12 months in a year, and it is, the question says, it says after 3 months. So it's going to be 3 months out of the 12 months of the year. So we'll write that as 3/12. So we end up with, well, here's the answer here. Let's go ahead and go through a little bit of the math. Now 3/12 will simplify, won't it? I could go ahead and write this as 1/4, right? Because 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So this will simplify down to 1/12. So if I have 7,000, and I'm multiplying it times 1/4, this would equal 7,000 divided by 4, right? Just think of this as a fraction, then multiply straight across. 7,000 over 1 is still 7,000. Multiply numerator straight across to get 7,000. Denominator straight across to get 4. And whenever we do 7,000 divided by 4, I'm going to check that answer there. 7,000, and we'll divide that by 4, and indeed it is 1750. So that's where this 1750 comes from right here. I wanted to show you the math of this portion here, how we get from there to here, all right? Now we still have the R, so which is the rate, so we're going to bring that down here. Now we have a one-step equation, right? 63 equals 1750 R, so we're going to divide both sides by 1,750. What we do to one side, we do to the other. The 1750s cancel each other, leaving us with just the R on the right. And 63 divided by 1,750 equals 0.036. Now, this is the rate, but if we're going to write it as a percent, remember, if we're going from decimal to percent, we're going to go from left to right. So I go from left over to the right, 2 places, and 0.036 becomes 3.6. And then don't forget to throw the percent sign on the end, right? So the interest rate is 3.6%. Next, let's talk about tips and sales tax. A tip is an amount of money added to a bill for service, like if you go out to a restaurant and eat, you pay the waiter or waitress a tip. It is usually a percent of the bill before sales tax is added. Sales tax is a percent of an item's cost. Sales tax usually can be a federal tax, a state tax, county tax, etc. But items are taxed in order to pay for services provided by governing agencies such as federal and state and local governments. Sales tax and tips are sometimes estimated instead of calculated exactly. When estimating percents, use percents that you can calculate mentally. For instance, find 10% of a number by moving the decimal one place to the left So if we had like, say 63, and we want to know what is 6% of 63, we would just move the decimal one decimal place to the left for 10%. We would end up with 6.3. So that would be 10%. Move the decimal one place. On the next one here, define 1% of a number by moving the decimal two places to the left. So if I had, let's say 70, and I move the decimal over two places to the left, then I see that I would have 0.7, and this would be 1%. So like if this were $70, 7 cents would be 1% of 70. And for 5%, that's, well, 5 is 1/2 of 10, and we already talked about how to find 10%. So to find 5% of a number, we're going to just take 1/2 of 10%. So let's go back up to the example that I had of 6.3, right? Or 63. Let's say I need to do 5% of 63. So I'm going to move the decimal over one place here to get to 6.3. Now, that's 10%, but I want 5%. So I'm going to take 1/2 of that, right? 10% and 5% is 1/2. So let's go ahead and take 1/2 of this, and half of 6 is 3, and half of 3, well, think of this as 30. Half of 30 is 15. So in that case, if it were $63, 5% of 63 would be 3.15 or $3.15 if we were talking about money. So let's go ahead and do some estimating with percents here in example 3. The dinner check for Maria's family is $67.95. We're supposed to estimate a 15% tip. So our first step is to go ahead and round $67.95 up to $70, right? Probably round up. That way it's in favor of the waiter or waitress, correct? If you round down to 65, maybe you'd be shorting them a little bit. So we're going to round up to 70. So think, 15% is equal to 10% plus 5%. So 10% of 70, we get the 10% of 70, move the decimal over one place, 70 becomes 7. Now, step 3 is to think, well, 5% is equal to 1/2 or 10%, 1/2 of 10%, or 10% divided by 2. So let's take that 10% of 70, which was 7, right here. We're going to divide it by 2, and half of 7 is $3.50. So to get to 15%, we're going to take that 10%, $7, and the 5%, $3.50, and add them together because 10 plus 5 is 15. So we're going to add the 10%, $7, to the 5%, $3.50. 7 plus 3 is 10, and we have the 50 cents for the cent part, so $10.50. So the tip should be $10.50. Example B, I'm looking at that tip over there. Let's go ahead and read the tip first. A 6.25% sales tax rate means that for every $100 you spend, you would pay $6.25 in sales tax. So if you spent exactly $100, you would have to add another $6.25. So your final cost would be $106.25. Likewise, if you spent $200, which is twice 100 times 2, right? So you would have to double this to $12.50. So if you spent $200, your final bill would be $212.50. So with that knowledge, let's go ahead and look at B. The sales tax rate is 6.25%. Estimate the sales tax on a shirt that cost $29.50. Now I'm going to guess we're going to round that up to 30. First round, well, yep, we're going to round it to 30 here. So we're going to first round the 6.25% down to 6%. And we're going to take the $29.50 and round that up to $30. So first, let's go ahead and think of 6% as 6 times 1%, right? So, right, 6 times 1 would be 6, or think of this as if I had 1% 6 times, then I would have 6%. So 6% is equal to 6 times 1%. So what is 1% of 30? Well, move the decimal over two places, right? 1, 2, and we see that it would be 30 cents. The decimal's now in front of the 3, so that would be 30 cents. Well, if 6% is 6 times 1%, then we would take that 30 cents and multiply it times 6 as well. So 6 times 30 cents, well, 6 times 3 is 18, and we have 2 decimal places, so we would put that decimal over 1, 2 places to get to here, and it would be $1.80. So the sales tax is about $1.80. So in the end, we're going to pay roughly, $31.50 for that, somewhere in there. Let's look at estimate 15% on a tip, 15% tip on a check for $21.98. Now, since it's a tip, I want to be nice to the waiter or waitress. I'm going to go ahead and take this $21.98 and I'm going to go ahead and round it up to 25. We're just going to call that 25. So let's take 25 as our number. 15%, right, is 10% plus 5%. 10% of 25 with the decimal over 1 place, I would get 250. And then again on 25, move the decimal over, half of, that's right, 5% is half of 10%. So what's half of 250? Well, 125, right? Now add those together, I would get 375. And do we just need the tip? Yeah, we're just estimating the tip, not the total cost. So in this case here, we would be looking at about $3.75. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do this other example here. Estimate the tip on shoes that cost $68.50 when the sales tax is 8.25%. So let's take the $68.50 and round that up to 70, okay? And 8.25%, let's just call that 8%, right? Let's go for, round it down to 8%. Well, 8% is like 5% plus 1%. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it that way. 1% plus 1% plus 1%. I think I get it that way. So 70, let's go ahead and move it over one place to get 10% would be $7. 10% would be $7, right? 5%, 1/2 of 7 is 350. So we'll figure that at 350 here. And then if we go 1% of 70, move the decimal over 2 places, we would have 7 cents, right? Or, no, 70. Yeah, it'd be 3 places for 7 cents. So if we move it over 2 places, we would have 70 cents. 70, 0.70, 0.70. Now, 7 times 3 is 21, but my decimal is going to go here. That would be $2.10. So in the end, I'm going to have $5 here, and 50 plus 10 cents is 60 cents. Therefore, we would be at $5.60. Outstanding. So that brings us to our guided practice. Vocabulary: how are commission and tips alike, and how are they different? Well, commissions and tips are both alike because they pretty much work on a percentage of another number, right? Commissions are percent of things that you sell, and tips are on things that you services that you purchase or things that you buy. How are they different? Well, if you're the one getting the commission, you're getting money. Someone's giving you money. If you're someone paying a tip, then you're paying it out, right? But how are they different? Other than that, I'm not quite sure what they're looking for there. So let's go ahead and move along to number 2. A sales representative earns 2.5% commission on sales. Find the commission earned when the total sales are $80,700. So the commission is sales times the rate or the percentage, right? So let's take the 80,700 and we're going to multiply it times the 2.5% as a decimal. Move that decimal over 2 places. 1, 2 means we're going to need a 0 there. So 0 point place holding 0, 2, 5. And whenever we do that, Let me turn on my calculator. 80700. We're going to multiply that by 0.025. And that's going to be $2,017.50. Next, Karen earns a salary of $28,600 per year plus a 4.25% commission on her sales. Find her total earnings for a year when the sales are $310,000. So we need to go ahead and take her base here, and we're going to take that base and we're going to add it to the commission, right? So what is her base? Base is $28,600, and the commission is a percentage of her sales, right? So her sales were $310,000, and her commission is 4.25%. So we're going to move that decimal over 2 places. We're going to need a 0 in there. So we'll have 0.0425. And let's bring down our base salary, $28,600. And we're going to add to that the product of $310,000 times 4, or 0.0425. There we go. 310,000. Throw in 3 zeros there. We're going to multiply that times 0.0425. And that's going to be 13,175. Then let's go ahead and add that value to her base of 28,600. And that will give us a total of $41,775,000. All right. Let's jump down to, let's go ahead and erase this here. Get some more space there, right? Yeah, why not? We'll do 4. Find the amount of simple interest earned after 2 years on $480 invested at a 7% annual rate. So this is the interest equals principal times the rate times the time. So let's go ahead and plug those things in over here. We'll say interest equals the principal. What do they start with? They invest $480. The rate is 7%, so move that decimal over 2 places. So that's going to be 0.07. Decimal right there. And then time is 2 years, so 2. So now all we have to do is plug all that into our calculator. 480, multiply that times 0.07. And then multiply that times 2, and that's going to give us 67.2. So $67.20 over 2 years earned for investing $480. Find the number of years it would take for $1,200 to earn simple interest of $324 at an annual interest rate of 6%. So that's 6%. Is going to be what, 0.06. So this is what we're going to use for our rate. And go ahead and erase this here. And let's go ahead and plug that in. So this time, let's write the formula. Interest equals principal times rate times time. And this time we do have the interest. They're saying find the number of years it would take for this much money to earn this much interest. So right here is your interest, $324. And your principal, what you start with is $1,200. They do give us the rate, which is 0.06, and time is what we're trying to solve for. Time is going to be in years, right? So, and that's what it says. Find the number of years. So let's go ahead and bring down our 324. Let's do our 1,200. Multiply that times 0.06. And we're going to get 72. Bring down the variable t. Now let's divide both sides by 72. That's going to leave us just t on the left. And 324 divided by the 72 is going to be 4.5. 4.5 what? 4.5 years. All right. I'm going to jump down to, let's go ahead and do number 8. We're just about at 30 minutes for this lesson, so let's go ahead and jump to number 8, and we'll do that one. So they want us to estimate the tax on a $198 stereo when the sales tax is 5.25%. So let's take this 198, round it up to 200. So we're going to be talking about $200 instead of $198. And for the interest rate, let's go ahead and knock that down to 5%. Let's think of this as 5%. So we're probably looking for what? 1/2 of 10%, because 5 is 1/2 of 10. So 10% of 200, well, we just move the decimal over one place, right? We would get $20. But this is 10%. Well, I want 5%, not 10%, so I want half of that, and so that's going to be $10. So in this case, the tax on this stereo would be approximately $10. And that is my entire presentation of Algebra 1, Chapter 2, Lesson 10, Applications of Percents. Thank you.